Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video for Eve Echoes. Now, last week I did a video talking about how one of my main characters has recently gone from being the frigate and destroyer main that everyone knows me to be, to now also flying cruisers and even battleships. It was a bit more of a chill video than perhaps I've done in the past, something that's a bit more just to sit down and talk about what's going on, and you folks seem to really respond to it and enjoy it. So, we're going to do that again today with my second character, Silent Rose, who many of you already know, but I just want to talk about what skills I've gone for here, why I've made those decisions, and why I have a new flagship on this character. Now, some of you already know the story of Silent Rose, but we will be going over it again in this video because, well, hey, it's important to set the boundaries, right? Anyway, so if you do enjoy this video, please let me know by hitting a like on it, sub to the channel for all things Eve Echoes, making sure to ding that notification bell and tap all notifications so you never miss an upload. And of course, if you want to go the extra mile to help support this channel and my content, we do have a Patreon page and a Redbubble merchandise store. You can check out the links for all of that in the description below. Anyway, so yes, I have two characters that are public knowledge. Captain Benzie, of course, used to be my frigate and destroyer main, now flies frigates, cruisers and battleships, with the kind of theming around missiles and covert ops activities. Again, if you're interested in knowing what's going on there, I'll put a link in the description as well so we can check that one out. But Silent Rose has always been what I referred to as my hurricane main. Now, way back when I first started learning to play EVE Online, I was being trained by a friend of mine. I lived on a boat on the River Thames. We moored anywhere between sort of Teddington Dock and East Molesey, going through Kingston upon Thames and Hampton Court and areas like that. And I used to play using a little Wi-Fi dongle with a friend of mine called Paul, and Paul was teaching me how to play Eve Echoes, and basically, every time I jumped from low sec into null sec, in fact I think it was actually even low sec, I found myself getting blown up repeatedly. This one pirate would find me every time I made a jump into a lower security space, would blow me up, and basically sort of, you know, it felt horrid. It felt horrid. So I started changing my training and eventually saving up to enough to get myself a hurricane. That hurricane, because you can name ships in EVE Online, I named the Silent Rose, and when I jumped through that gate back into lower security space, all I heard across the ship from Paul's cabin was, "Ah, as I blew him to smithereens in my shiny new battlecruiser. And I was in love. I was absolutely in love with the Hurricane at that point. I mean, if I head across to the Machariel public ship tree, it's a cool ship. Like, the hull looks absolutely amazing. Like, that shape, that sort of spearhead to it. We get some of the coolest skins for this ever. I really like a whole ton of these. The late night one's pretty snazzy. Wish I could get the sunset one, but I missed out on that one. Even the Valkyrie Glorious, bright and yellow as it is still a really cool skin. And this is a really versatile ship as well. You can quite happily use it for PvE, for PvP, for long-range sniping with strike cannons, or getting up close and personal with autocannons. It's, you know, it's one of these ships you can do lots of different things with it, and I really, really like it. It's always been sort of my flagship in EVE Online. In EVE Echoes, well, you can't name ships, so I decided that I was going to name my second character Silent Rose in memory of the ship, and there is merchandise for Silent Rose on the merchandise store on Redbubble, etc. It's yeah, my wife came up with an excellent bit of like design work for it, sort of like the roses and the Captain Benzie cat skull on it as well. I absolutely love it, and I wish I could get it on the shipping game. But I decided that my second character was going to be a Hurricane main. So of course that meant I trained everything I could into medium cannon upgrade, medium cannon operation, battlecruiser command, and all of that jazz. In fact, if we go into the skill menu now and have a look, you'll see that there, of course, I have that prerequisite frigate command 5. I do advise everyone to have that. Then as we go down, you'll see that I'm sitting at Battlecruiser Command 554. My navigation was up at 554 for Afterburner and for Micro Warp Drive. As we move into shields, again, 554 and 554 on shield hardening and advanced shield hardening and shield operation, and on armor operation and armor hardening, because yes, I do sometimes even armor tank a Hurricane. It does work surprisingly well, especially if you're in a Mars space going up against, for example, Sansha rats or Blood Raider rats, because of the electrothermal and kinetic damage, and you'll actually find that armor tanking a Hurricane does work surprisingly well. It's got enough power grid to support it, it goes a little bit more capacitor friendly, and the way that Minmatar ships operate with their tank, it works really, really really well. Now you may have noticed that actually under maintenance technology I also have remote shield operation all the way up to 554 as well. And you may be thinking, why on earth have you leveled that up? Simply because I wanted to be able to fly every type of Hurricane. That included the Hurricane Logistics and the Hurricane Guardian. Now, of course, the Hurricane Guardian, it's one of those, you're training at Battlecruiser defense upgrade in order to fly that. Of course, I'm going to have that right the way up anyway, Battlecruiser defense upgrade 554, because I'm flying standard Hurricanes. That was a nice, easy skill that meant, yeah, by the time I got the Hurricane Guardian at tech level 10, I had all the skills necessary for it, but I went back and did shield operation as well, the remote shield operation there, to make sure that I maxed out the Hurricane Logistics. As we go forward into electronics, of course, Battlecruiser engineering is all the way up. I did used to have cruiser engineering all the way up, but I sacrificed a little bit of that, as we'll talk about in a moment. Electronic systems, electronic warfare is all the way up, and signal disruption is pretty high too. Good targeting, and of course, cannon skills, I got all the way up to, starting here, you can see 555 on expert medium cannon operation, and 554 on medium cannon upgrade. Now, once I hit that point, I wasn't sure what else to do, really, because, like, Hurricanes were maxed out for me. Silent Rose was meant to be a Hurricane main. It was all about the Hurricanes. Every type of Hurricane in EVE Echoes, Silent Rose was maxed out in and able to fly. So the only thing I could really do at that point was to go back and change everything to 555, add in those 5th skills. But it's such a lot of skill points for not really much in the way of, you know, actual benefit. Like if, for example, we have a look at expert medium cannon upgrade, the difference between level 4 and level 5, if I can actually tap on the right thing itself there, let's go back into, advanced medium cannon upgrade, and then here we are. There's not much of a difference there. You go from 8% additional damage to 10%, 10% accuracy fall off up from 7%, 5% optimal range up from 3%, and an extra second of gyro stabilizer time. And that takes a whopping 45 days, 13 hours, 17 minutes, and 36 seconds to train for me, because I've got Cognitive Neuroscience 5.5, and of course Duo Omega on this character, or Combo Omega, however you want to call it. Now, this led me to the kind of... I sat there looking at all of these skills and I'm like, 45 days, 30 days to get all of these up. That's horrid. It's going to take so long, and it's really not fun. I was also finding that, like Benzie, I was basically bringing out the Hurricane Guardian or the Hurricane Logistics to fleets, but when I was playing solo, the Hurricane on its own just doesn't cut it. At tech level 8, it's a great ship, but once you start trying to do tech 10 content, it really does fall apart, and it wasn't really able to pull its own weight even in solo play. So I had to make that difficult decision of what do I do from here. And what my first thought was, of course, let's start with large cannons. And I've taken large cannon operation all the way up to 554, and large cannon upgrade is on its way to 554. My theory here was that I could fly the Tornado 2, and the Tornado 3, and I have been flying the Tornado 2 for quite a while. It was one that I used to jump into, and it did a little bit better in solo. I still had to be really careful. I could still pretty much only sit in smalls. You can kind of see my hangar here. So I started on the large cannons, and then I thought, I'm still not enjoying this. Maybe I should swap to Harbingers and also have the Harbinger Logistics, and the Harbinger Guardian, so that I can do shield tanking, armor tanking, both for, the Guardians, and I could do shield tanking logistics and armor tanking logistics with the Harbinger, with the Harbinger Logistics and the Hurricane Logistics. But it never really caught off. I used the Harbinger a little bit. I did skill into medium lasers for a while, and I just didn't enjoy them. I then went back to the large cannons, did the Tornado 2 for a bit, and thought to myself, well, if I'm doing large cannons, I may as well start moving into some of the larger skills as well. So that's when I started skilling into battleships, and I moved into the Tempest Striker. Wasn't contented to just jump in with something at tech level 9, like with Benzie and the Typhoon 2. I just went straight in at tech 10 with the Tempest Striker. I like this ship, it's got a nice fitting profile there, 7 high slots, 4 mids, 6 lows. You get that beautiful large cannon damage and activation time combination there that really whacks its DPS up, and the tracking speed is pretty nice as well. 25% additional large cannon tracking speed isn't bad at all. Minus 4% signature radius for advanced battleship command. It is what it is. It's useful. And I had fun with the Tempest Striker. I took it out into combat. I just found that, I don't know whether it was just that I was loving the Typhoon more at the time, that I was finding that so chill I could just AFK, you know, literally just, as I said in that video, I used to warp into an anomaly, a small or a medium, heck, even a large it technically can do, but I need a bit more attention there. For the sort of the AFK version, I could jump into an anomaly, orbit the warp-in point at 30 or 40 kilometers, and then just switch everything on and just shoot until everything's dead and then move on to the next anomaly. And it's a really chill way just to sit there and talk with people. Now, I know some people commented on that video as well that, oh, you could do this better with this setup or that setup. Kind of missed the point of the video. I wasn't trying to min-max, and yeah, I know that the Raven Striker is an excellent ship, it didn't feel any better to me, and the way that it looks, I don't like the appearance as much. Looks are important to me. I won't fly certain ships because I don't like how they look. I know that sounds silly and you can just zoom out, but I still know. Anyway, so I moved across to the Tempest Striker because I really like the look of the Tempest, and I had a lot of fun flying this. I just found that it felt really intensive, and I struggled to get a good fit. I kind of messed around with going for strike cannon fits and using the sniper bonus from like massive distance, you know, the DPS bonus, the siege bonus from massive distances, and trying to snipe things from there. But I found that, ironically, that didn't feel chill. It just felt boring. I still had to pay attention, but now paying attention was also slow and trudging, and it just didn't feel right. Then I tried moving to sort of an autocannon build, and that was more fun, but again I suddenly found I was paying a lot more attention to it and didn't have that chill aspect. I really struggled with the Tempest Striker. This is a battleship that I really want to love, and I'd love to know people's thoughts and opinions on this. I'd love to get some sample fits from you folks. If any of you are using the Tempest Striker, you know, to solo PvE and things like that, let me know, because I've got this ship and I've now got the Thermomagnetic Storm 2 nanocore for it, and I was really enjoying it. I just couldn't quite get it to click, if that makes sense. Then I was lucky enough to come into some ISK, and of course grabbed myself our friend here, when I get out of all these menus, the Machariel. Now, of course, you guys should know by now, I'm a big fan of the Angel Cartel. I really enjoy flying the Dramiel. I know the Dramiel is by far the worst of the 5 faction frigates out there, but it is the one I still enjoy flying the most, so you will often see me on Captain Benzie flying the Dramiel. Even though, like, people say, oh, you're insane for flying a Dramiel instead of a Daredevil. They're similar playstyle, but the Daredevil just does it so much better. Yeah, it really does do it so much better. I'm not denying that. But I still just find the Dramiel more fun. I will eventually go back and fill out the medium skills as well to, like, medium cruiser skills, sorry, the cruiser skills to start flying a Cinnable. But for now, I'm enjoying the Machariel on Silent Rose. This has become my new flagship. Because, again, I need something that can solo anomalies quite comfortably on their own, and this still gives me the opportunity to jump in with fleets. I can still go as a Guardian or Logistics if we need those for some of the bigger PvE options, but I have the Machariel if I just want to shoot things and punch really big holes in them. That's kind of how I've described the Machariel to people recently. That the Typhoon for me is a nice chill way of just, you know, I sit there and I chat to people and I just talk while ratting, and it takes a bit of time, but you don't have to focus on it at all. The Machariel, on the other hand, the fun part about the Machariel is just that it is really, really good at punching really, really big holes in ships. Now, I am slightly annoyed that the Dark Halo, I bought the Thermomagnetic Storm 2 nanocore for the Tempest Striker, then the very next day got the Machariel, and yeah, I'm sitting there like, great, I've spent all of those Concord points, I'm gonna have to wait until I get this. I don't have the Dark Halo core yet. If you watch the video about the Dark Halo core, you'll know how excited I am about that nanocore and what it does, especially for the Machariel. I love the way it looks now with that sort of slate grey and black and the fiery orange and red. Really, really powerful. But the ship itself, this is an absolute beast. So we've got the 8 high slots this time rather than just 7 on the Tempest Striker, otherwise pretty much the same. Other than, again, we've got a lot more here on the armor tank. We then have more large cannon damage, but with the same reduction to large cannon activation time, so it's 5% large cannon damage on the Tempest Striker, 6% here, still 5% reduction to large cannon activation time on both of them. The big difference, though, here is the tracking speed and the accuracy fall-off. Now, the accuracy fall-off really benefits autocannons and gives them a lot of extra range, but that tracking speed going from 5% per level, which was 25% obviously, to 7.5% per level, which is now 37.5%, is a huge difference, and that suddenly means I can be a little bit more liberal with my mid slots on the Machariel and not have to worry so much. I found that when I was using the Tempest Striker, I felt like I didn't have enough mids and lows. If I filled the mids the way I wanted, then I wasn't tanky enough in the lows. If I was tanky enough as I wanted, with things like using Nosferatus and that in the mids to, you know, keep things balanced, then I found that I wasn't able to hit anything because I didn't have the propulsion jamming, like, you know, the webs and the scrams and that I needed. Whereas the Machariel, because it's got that additional tracking speed, kind of gets away with that. So how am I actually fitting this? Well, it's going to take a while to load, so let's have a look. Here you can see I go for the autocannon fit. I do occasionally fit this with strike cannons and sit there at massive range and just snipe things, and the strike cannon fit arguably is the better one. Basically, you swap to strikes, and the low slots, you'd take out one of the reds and put in another tracking computer, or a micro warp drive instead of one of the gyro stabilizers, that kind of thing, and obviously the webs you swap for, you'd take out the Nosferatu for another target painter. You can sit at some rather extreme ranges with that, and I've watched some folks in Catskull soloing some of the Tech 10, you know, the hardest Tech 10, like even Dead Spaces, in a Machariel doing that. It's possible. It's an insanely good ship for that, but again, I just don't find it fun. And I need to really get this into people's heads. I'm not here as a min-maxer. I'm not here to sit there and say, this is the best ship ever. I don't fly the best ships ever. I often find that the best ships ever bore the ever-living snot out of me. As I said, the Daredevil, undoubtedly the best of the faction frigates. I absolutely loathe flying it. I really don't enjoy it. I don't know why. I think there's a part of me that just likes playing the underdog a little bit. So the Machariel kind of gives me that feeling. It's not the best, it's not the meta per se, but it does the job so well. And again, I've gone for autocannons here because Benzie likes it up close and personal. That's what I'm all about, and there's a beautiful bit of merchandise on our Patreon as well, so if you are pledging on Patreon, do stick in there, keep your pledge going. You can earn some really cool stuff like hoodies, etc., with the up close and personal logo on them. Anyway, so of course, 8 autocannons is an absolutely monstrous amount of DPS. I've then gone for 2 gyros in the lows with a tracking computer in there as well, to just make sure that I'm getting as much tracking out of this as possible. 2 webs in the mid slots mean that I can grab onto anything that gets within sort of 14.8 kilometers, because they're both predators, and the target painter gives me the ability to start shooting at things like interceptors a little bit easier as they approach. I can often find that when I hit an anomaly, I can start shooting at stuff as it's approaching. It's often dead by time it does, thanks to the target painter. Anything that does happen to get close, the double webs is usually more than sufficient, especially if you combine that with a quick activation of the tracking computer. The best thing to do there, by the way, is to switch off all of your weapons, deactivate all of your weapons, then activate the tracking computer and the weapons at the same time, and you usually find that that's enough to get you a couple of good shots off and destroy whatever it is you're up against. Now, tank-wise, I find that 2 red adaptive invulnerability fields are more than sufficient for what I need here, with a large shield booster in the final low slot there, just to help me repair the damage that I take. And I do take a fair bit of damage in this, because essentially I warp in at 0, and then I just start locking on and shooting stuff. Sometimes I warp in at 20 or 30, if I'm feeling a little bit more scared or whatever, but anyway, I've gone for a full DPS setup here of cannon burst aerators and cannon collision accelerator 3s there for the combat side, and on the engineering, capacitor control circuit, a semiconductor memory cell, and a targeting system subcontroller 3, just to give me that little bit extra lock-on time. And you can see that this is a capacitor stable battleship. It's not very capacitor stable, like you can easily lose that, but for ratting, it's good enough. And if you're worried about that, well, again, you can swap out a gyro and quite comfortably put in a capacitor battery there in the low slots. Our cold DPS is sitting at 2597, which feels monstrous, and that shoots all the way up to about 4200 if I activate both gyro stabilizers at the same time. I don't tend to, because 4200 for the however long it is, 32 seconds now? 34 seconds now, thanks to those cannon skills. 34 seconds at 4200 isn't as much overall as getting 68 seconds at about 3800, which is what I get with a single gyro active, and is again pretty monstrous. You'll also note that I see a lot of people using berserkers here in the drone tubes, the large drones. I don't understand why you would fit large drones to a ship like this. For me, large drones are useful only against battleships or if you've got bonuses specifically to them. Here on the Machariel, those medium drones, I've tested it, I've had fun doing it. At times I just sit there and go, you know what, I don't care about this interceptor, I'm just going to keep blapping the battleship that I've already locked onto and I'm shooting at, and I'm just going to let the drones rip the interceptor up. And they will do that. They will genuinely do that. It takes a bit of time, of course, but they will comfortably do it on their own. So you can sit there and fire your autocannons at whatever big ship happens to be in front of you, while letting the drones sort of fly around and catch the smaller ones, especially the destroyers. The drones do really, really well at, but they will even hit the Interceptor 2s at Tech 10 as well, and will quite happily pull that apart. Again, so a capacitor stable, we're looking at a cold defense here of 127,595, and I will undock in a moment and show all of this at full active. Targeting 247mm, I don't think that's bad at all for a signature radius for a battleship. You know, it's fairly small, it takes a little bit of time, and you know, it means if you were to move, you know, you can avoid some damage. I've got no propulsion on here though, so I'm not really going with that. The scan resolution though, sorry, 236mm, that I'm pretty happy with. It's good at being able to lock onto things at a fairly decent speed, and it can lock onto 7 things at once. Navigation as well, as I said, for a battleship, 187.65 isn't all that bad. I've got no prop mod on here because I tend to just warp in and then sit at 0, but it's just nice to know that we have it. Anyway, so just to kind of undock this now, we'll have a little example of how this actually works, and you'll see it all in effect. So again, let's just have a quick look at the fitting menu. We were looking at a DPS when it loads. Takes a bit of time for this to load on our main space. There we go. It's 2597, and we have a defense of 127,595. So we go 127,595, and we're going to activate both of these. 127,595 is now coming back in. 183,398. So we have added on another 60,000, almost 58,000, I think that works out as, somewhere in that region. Not bad at all. Offense, again, 2597 to start with. If we go back and activate a single gyro stabilizer, that now shoots all the way up to 3316, sorry, not 38, 3316. And then if we add the second one on there and come back in, 4052. Those are some pretty big numbers for a solo battleship as I'm flying through space now, and I really find this useful for ratting. If I want to kill something really quick, so if I've gone in and there's like an Angel battleship that I want to take out, I sometimes do double hot the gyros and run both of those to take something out, but for the most part I tend to run one at a time, because that 3,300 over a full 68 seconds is better than the 4,000 over 34 seconds. It just works out better in the long run. Basically, if you can't kill something in the time it takes for the gyro stabilize, if you double activate the gyro stabilizers, if you go double hot, and you don't kill the target in the time it takes for those double gyros to complete, then it would have been better to do them one at a time. So there we go, that's the Machariel for me. I'm not going to sit there and showcase this in action because I'm pretty sure you guys all believe me that this can quite comfortably do small and medium Tech 10 anomalies on its own. It can do higher than that, but I haven't really risked it. It's been a bit of a tough ride. I've not had chance to really test that personally. I've done it on Fulmination, but it's not as exciting, and I wanted to showcase it on here, but I just haven't been able to get that footage. But yeah, anyway, so in a simple fact, this is my new flagship now. I do miss flying Hurricanes. I definitely miss flying Hurricanes. They're one of my favourite ships in the game, but there's just no good version of them at tech level 10. So it kind of felt like, like with Benzie, I needed to move into battleships in order to actually do anything meaningful in the game on my own without a fleet around me. Being in a Hurricane Guardian or Hurricane Logistics in a fleet, awesome. Heck, even being in a Tech 8 Hurricane in a fleet was fine, because I would be the one who took out all the little frigates and the destroyers, and I could do that comfortably. Just for solo play, there was nothing for me in nullsec really in the area we're based flying a battlecruiser, because at tech level 8 battlecruiser trying to take out tech level 10 anomalies, just it wasn't cutting it. So we've moved up to a Machariel and thoroughly enjoying it. And I will, as you've seen, I will go back and I will up some of my other small and medium skills. I'm intending this character now to be a full Angel Cartel main. So everything is about small, medium and large cannons, and I will be flying Dramiels, Cinnables, and of course the Machariel Flagship. Anyway folks, that really is everything I wanted to say for this particular video. I know these are a little bit chill and a little bit more disorganised. I like to think of it as informal. I'm just sitting down having a chat and basically saying what comes to my head. I hope you enjoy this. Please do leave me some feedback in the description down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions, both in regards to this ship, in regards to anything Eve Echoes based, and of course just in regards to the type of content as well. If you're enjoying me just having these chill little chats and talking about what I'm enjoying, what I'm flying and why I'm doing so, let me know. If you've got a particular topic you'd like me to cover, let me know. Otherwise folks, thank you for listening to this one right the way to the end. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!